Yes.
Let's see. Okay. It says it is live. So, first question right off the bat, let's just jump right in. If you had a wonderful client, no budget, like unlimited, truly unlimited budget, anywhere in the world, they were open to destination, anything, what is your absolute favorite wedding venue?
Well, since I love to travel and right now, since I recently just returned from Bali, it has to be the Conrad Bali. Um, it's my crazy rich Asian moment. You know how she came down the aisle walking on water. Well, there's a chapel there that literally looks like it's floating on water, and
Oh,
it's all
wow.
white and it's surrounded by glass. So right now, that is at the top of my bucket list.
Wow. So is it just the aesthetics of that particular place, or were there other things that are like, okay, yeah, this beats everything I've seen?
Well, I love a blank canvas because you can do anything with it. And because it's all white and glass, any color palette fits it. And who doesn't want like a water backdrop? Who doesn't want to walk on water? I mean, like what's more dreamier than that? I mean, granted, it's a 24-hour flight, but I mean, it's just awesome. And even when you take a picture of it, it just looks like it's on water. So, I mean, it's the aesthetic, it's the romanticism of it, and it's a blank canvas. I mean, it's a wedding designer's dream, actually.
Okay.
And I mean, for a
Us.
person who loves love, I mean, what's better than that?
Okay. Awesome. Well, so I wanted to take a pause 1 second and welcome everybody to the Black Owned Elite podcast. This is Wedding Wednesday. So every Wednesday, we are going to talk with one of the top Black owned wedding professionals across the nation. And today we have somebody very, very special. So let's introduce her so you can see why her opinion is something that you really do need to heed. We have today Lysandra Vance from Enraptured Events. She has done more than 600 weddings, has been doing weddings for more than 19 years, has gotten Diamond Awards, been featured in Muna Lucci and Black Bride and Black Nuptials, and just anywhere you would want your wedding featured. So, welcome, LaShawn, and thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about venues because I know, at least for me, when I got engaged, I was like, okay, yeah, I could do this. Let me look up venues, and I'm going on the Knot. And what was that other one? I forget the other one, but I was
Wedding
looking at
Wire, I think
venues.
it is.
Yes, Wedding Wire,
They now
and
merge, yeah.
yes, well, yeah, now they're just, they weren't the same back then. And we were like, okay, we're going to do destination because we don't want to do it where we are. We don't want to do it where my parents are. We want to do it in a neutral place. And I'm from Jamaica. So we're like Miami. The Jamaican people could go there. We're in Florida. So we could go there. Everybody else, it will be a destination. It will be a vacation. So I'm there online trying to find a venue. Took a weekend, went down there, thought I knew what I was doing, and then the venues did not look like they looked online. So I was like, okay, you know what? Planner. It's time to hire a planner. And that's exactly why we hired a planner. So, what would you give advice for people who are still trying to do it themselves, who haven't wised up to hire a planner yet? Like, what kind of things should they be looking for when they're looking for a venue?
Well, the first things first, know your budget. Because a lot of times people come to me after they've started the process of looking at venues, or they've made appointments at venues and they've gotten disappointed with how much the venue costs, whether it's the food and beverage minimum or the rental rate, etc. And they like, well, I didn't know the St. Regis had a food and beverage minimum of $50,000. Well, if
Ooh.
your total wedding budget is $50,000, and obviously looking at the St. Regis for your wedding does not work. So the first thing you should always
Mm-mm.
do is know what your maximum comfort zone is that you want to spend, and then start looking based on that, because we all have a dream vision for our wedding. And you know what I always say, dreams and dollars must meet. So, I mean, it's sad, but it's true because, always say the budget, the budget, the budget. It's never a word that we really want to heed to, but unfortunately, it's one that we must. So, the first thing that you always should do is know what you want to spend because there's no point in looking at that dream venue when mathematically it's not going to work.
So, mathematically, then, is there a secret like formula as to how much people should spend on their venue?
You should always plan to spend between the venue and catering because sometimes the two are together when there's in-house catering. Up to 50%. Sometimes that number is around 47, 48%. But that secret is, plan to spend 50% of your budget on the venue and food and beverage. So, and if your budget is, around 50,000, yeah, around 25,000 of that is going to that venue and the food and the alcohol. So it goes pretty quickly.
Mm. Okay. And do you think is that the number one like mistake people make when planning the wedding? They like blow it all on the budget. I mean, on the venue. Sorry.
One of the things that, and it's funny because I was just talking to one of my new brides actually, and she did an amazing job of putting a spreadsheet together. And I have been trying for the last, I don't know, 5 years or so to try to get these freaking budget calculators offline because it's DJs are $500 and this and that, and she had these numbers in her spreadsheet. Oh, the DJ is 500, the wedding cake is 300. I was like, no, honey, that's not right. So she had some of the numbers right in terms of percentages, but many of them were wrong. So, so when it comes to the budget, online just guides people the wrong direction. So it's just better to have a planner that's going to give you the right percentages because after you spend 50% on the venue and then it said, oh, 1% for invitations and 1% for the DJ, then you're kind of led in the wrong direction. And it kind of gives people a false sense of security on how far they can stretch their dollars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always been very annoyed with a certain wedding website, and we do invitations, luxury invitations. So I'm like 1%. Oh no,
I know.
that's not even a deposit.
I don't like
Exactly.
the same paper because everybody always says, "Oh, they just go throw the invitations away." Like, well, not if you give them something they don't want to throw away.
Exactly.
And
If
we don't send
something,
digital invites. We don't do that.
yeah. So
We don't do that.
yeah, well, that's the new trend. That's the new trend. So maybe we
Not
should
here.
embrace it. Maybe not.
No, we don't do that. And my daughter
So,
is one of my brides now, so like we don't do that.
have you found that more and more people are wanting digital, or are people kind of going still the traditional route?
Not the people that come to me. I've had a one or two that inquired about my opinion, and but not many. Many people still want the luxury, the pretty. They want the tangible.
Okay,
And the
awesome.
problem with digital, you can send it wherever. There's really no control over who
That's
gets it.
true. That is absolutely true. And then I guess I know for me, out of sight, out of mind. So, oh yeah, okay, yeah. And then it's a year later. Oh, I need to find where is that? Like,
Right,
is it in my text message? Like, where is it?
right.
So I could totally understand that. And there's just something about receiving a package, right? Or something in the
Right.
mail. You cannot tell me that a text message is equal to that Amazon driver pulling up. You can't
And the
tell me.
invitation sets the tone. So I always say
Absolutely.
the invitation tells them how to dress, what to expect when they walk into your venue, when they walk into your ceremony, your reception. And sometimes the invitation even tells them or suggests to them what they might want to spend on the gift that they want to give to you. So if you
Mhm.
send me a text message, I might not even want to book the ticket to attend.
That's true. That's true too, because it really does set the tone and kind of set the bar for the expectations
Exactly.
from
And I'm all
people.
about the experience. Like I said, walking on water and everything. Don't send me a text message for that.
Awesome. So, like, how did you even get into wedding planner, and like, where are you from?
I am from Michigan. So
Okay.
like I said previously, I am a lover of love and just a hopeless romantic. So I've been reading romance novels since I was a tween, and I was always able to see the story as it was being described on the pages. And if you look at my website, Instagram, anything, I'm always talking about I'm telling stories through details because I
Hmm.
was always reading a book. I still read books to this very day. I watch love stories. I cry at the Publix commercials. Like whoever does those Publix commercials, they do deserve an award. So that's really how I got into it. One day at church, a friend of mine asked me to help her with our wedding. And my
Hmm.
first question to her was, what does it look like to you? And I could formulate the picture. And from there, I planned backward. I need this, 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 and that. So that is how I got into planning weddings. And it's the most romantic party you could ever plan. So here we are today.
So you sound like you started one day, you jumped in, and it was like
Oh,
smooth
it
sailing.
was not, it
Okay.
was so not that easy. Let me tell you, it was, it was an upward climb. I thought it was that easy, quite honestly. I picked up some books. I read a lot of books. I went from romance novels to wedding planning books and stuff like that. And at the time, you know, my daughter was, I was, she was the only person I had to help. And mind you, she was about 8 years old. So she was really no help at all.
Hmm.
And I found out quickly that I really did not know what I was doing. I started a company and everything and pretended to know what I was doing. And one day I met my fabulous mentor and she asked me to come shadow her on a wedding. And
Hmm.
I was like, oh my gosh, she got a team of people. There's a lot of people with
Hmm.
her. And so from that day on, I actually shadowed her, I want to say about 3 years. And that is when it became pretty easy because I was able to
Mm.
be her right arm because I had enough experience with making my many mistakes, then shadowing her, being her right arm, and then my creativity and her logistics helped form Enraptured Events. And when she was
Oh,
ready
okay.
to retire, I was then ready to go on my own. So um, it just kind of flowed into her retirement and me formulating the new Enraptured Events at that time.
Oh, launching on your own. Okay,
Correct.
so you said something really important there. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I don't know if I want to hire a wedding planner. And I think a lot of brides think, oh, they're hiring a wedding planner, like the one person, and the one person is going to have the wedding happen, right?
Right.
However, when you hire a planner, you're actually hiring a team of
Right.
people who know what they're doing. So it's not just the one person necessarily, it's the team. So tell us, in your many years of wedding planning and 600 plus wedding, what is the craziest wedding
I
that you
will
experienced?
never, actually, it was when, working with my mentor, because I will never forget this wedding. This was back, because there's always trends. And this was during the time when everybody wanted the black and white wedding with the double Chinese symbols with a hint of red, and the Buddhas and all that stuff. So we pulled up to the venue, and mind you, it was out of town. And we pulled up. There were 3 fire trucks in front of the building. He's like, "Oh,
Okay.
snap! What's going on?"
Uh-huh.
And fireman says, "You can't go in. We're putting out a fire."
What do you mean?
Okay.
At the
So
venue?
at the venue. So naturally we are, we're panicking, but we're trying not to panic. So since we are a team, we go, one person goes to, as we always do, help the bride get ready, make sure she doesn't know anything going on. And then the other person go check on the groom. And then I am now stuck at the venue waiting for the fire people to say, it's all clear. I go in, and of course, the first thing I always do is make sure the floor plan is as stated on paper. Tables and chairs are everywhere. I'm a little
Mm.
person. I don't really move furniture. I had to move furniture. And this particular bride even wanted Christmas lights on the two trees that was in the building.
Mhm.
So, make a long story short, I put all the tables and chairs where they were supposed to be, put all the linens. I got everything where it was supposed to be. I even put the lights on the trees. The one thing I did not do was put the Buddha in the room. I just ran out of time.
Okay.
Right? Walks in for the private reveal. She scanned the room. Where the F is the Buddha? That's all she said. I just didn't have time. We got here, there was a fire. I just told, she said, I don't care. I just broke down and cried because I was like,
Oh
I had to move all these tables, all these chairs,
no. By
and
yourself.
she sat at the sweetheart table, arms crossed, and I mean, she scowled the entire reception. And I always say the guests don't know what you have, should have had, if something's missing. We never tell them any details. They take their cue from you. So if you look like something's wrong, they now think something's wrong. She didn't care. She was pissed off the entire time, which made us upset. Cause I'm like, do you know what we went through to make sure this reception started on time? Everything. Yeah, she was mad. The groom couldn't calm her down. Her sister couldn't calm her down. So I would just never forget that day. So the lesson that I learned from that is that stuff happens, natural
Mhm.
disasters, fires, floods, and so I always say every wedding is a lesson or a blessing, and I update my contract accordingly. So my contract now makes sure that I will not be responsible for fires and floods and COVID and all the like.
Mhm. That's absolutely true. That is true. You have to keep updating that contract because, I mean, as you go along, you learn, you learn. Okay, my goodness, I never thought that would be a thing. But as you learn that, you definitely, business owners, you definitely have to update your contract. Don't think your original contract is going to be your contract forever. So that was your most memorable wedding, I take it. So
Yeah.
what was like the dream wedding? Like everything like just went, it was like, oh my goodness, nothing has gone wrong, or is there such a thing?
No,
Because
something always goes wrong. I mean, you people in weather, as you just can't predict. You can plan, but inevitably, every wedding or event, something does not go quite according to plan. Even the dreamiest wedding, most beautiful wedding, something was not quite right. That particular
Mhm.
wedding, the bride actually took my clipboard, threw it on the floor, like, girl, just have a good time. But at the same time, the groom's son didn't quite like her, so they actually had a spat. So, like, who can predict that?
Mhm.
But we had a blast. I mean, a band from New York, I mean, unlimited budget, ice cream bar where the ice cream was in ice sculptures with Grand Marnier and rum sauces. I mean, it was just like a dream wedding, but I mean, you still couldn't predict that there was going to be like throwing blows in the corner, like,
Oh, no.
so stuff
So
just
the
like,
so this isn't the fire one, right? This is a different one you're
this
saying
is a
that was
different
super
one,
dreamy.
yeah, but it
Oh,
was
okay, so
still
this
like an
was super
awesome wedding,
dreamy.
and but it was fun,
Oh.
and she's like, stop working, you've done enough. But there was still, the groom and his son, fighting for whatever reason.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, we see a lot of stuff. We have seen a lot of stuff.
I see. I see. Okay. So we are like super off topic. Let's get back to like venue wise. Okay. So brides are
Yeah.
booking venues. What are like the top two or three things that a lot of people don't think to ask about when they are trying to book a venue? So the brides who do want to do it themselves or just want to hire a day of coordinator will know, okay, when booking my venue, I have to remember this, and this thing.
Well, they don't often ask what's included. They just, for example, they ask if tables and chairs are included.
Mhm.
Yes, is usually the answer. But then they don't take it a step further. Well, how many? What sizes? For
Mm.
example, I had a bride. book a venue. Yeah, tables and chairs are included. When I get the contract, it says 4 tables and 40 chairs. You have 250 guests. So now you got to rent the remaining, you know.
Oh my goodness.
So if you don't ask the right questions, then you don't have, the answers. Um, Parking, not all parking is free. Some venues make you pay for parking, make us pay for parking. So surely your guests have to pay for parking.
Mhm.
There's a rental fee. There's sometimes a food and beverage minimum. Sometimes there's a beverage minimum. But then sometimes there's also a ceremony fee or a room flip fee. So you need to know what you're actually paying for and what you are responsible for, what your vendors are responsible for. And sometimes people don't ask those questions. And when it's closer to the wedding or when I get the contract, like, well, did you know you can't have candles and you're allergic to flowers, but you can't have candles, So when you get the
Mm.
contract or when I get the contract, they didn't, most people don't read. So it becomes, me now needing to try to undo what they've already signed, and it's not that easy. So I much prefer to be on the negotiating front end than trying to undo something that they've already signed their name to.
Yes, and just to let y'all know, LaShawn is the negotiator. And just for all the
When
brides who
people
may be
listen, I
listening
don't get
out
mad
there,
and so.
if there's no other reason to hire a planner, number one will be the negotiation skills of planners that they've developed over the years, and also the relationships they have with these venues. Because I know for our wedding personally, what we paid for was one of those side ballrooms. What we got was the main ballroom with the food and drink minimum of the side ballroom. So the caliber of wedding we had was probably $20,000 more than what we actually paid. But that was totally due to the wedding planner because she negotiated and got us the bigger room for the same price as the smaller rooms.
Right.
So, I mean, that alone, the 20,000 saved there paid
Was
her
the
fee.
cost of the planner. Exactly.
Exactly. Well, more than paid her fee.
Exactly.
So absolutely. Absolutely. So you're thinking that people need to ask what exactly is included and what other fees are there, because I'm sure a lot of people are saying, "Oh, the venue is what 5,000, that includes everything," but you're saying there's all kind of other fees that they may be adding on there, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, because you need to know exactly, like some venues are charging, just the venue, some are charging food and beverage, some, you just need to know exactly what the venue is charging. And some are charging a ceremony on top of the actual rental. So you just really need to know, like for example, one venue is charging a rental and a beverage, but then after you add all the other fees, it's now $25,000. So the
Mm.
7,500 is now after all the fees $25,000.
Ooh,
So you
that's a
just need
big
to
difference.
know that your $50,000 budget is now $25,000, and you just got a venue and some drinks. So
Aha.
you don't even have
Yes.
any food, no flowers, and you just spent almost $25,000.
So I know in saying that, a lot of people say, okay, well, then I'm just going to go with one of these all inclusive venues. Like, is that a better option?
If you want your
I see your
wedding to look
face.
if you want your wedding to look like
Richard
everybody
says,
else's,
ouch. He says,
then
ouch.
all inclusive could very well work for you. But I always say your wedding should be your wedding and not somebody else's wedding. And an all inclusive venue is going to give you the same linen that the person had last week, the same flowers. You might get your choice of red, yellow, or pink, or whatever, but it's the same rose. It's not a calla lily, a ranunculus. It's just the same, just a different day of the week or day of the month.
Have you ever done a wedding at Crystal Ballroom?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Because yeah, it's the same, I guess, chairs and tables, but they let you, I guess, for a fee, bring in some of your people. And they have their own
Yeah.
on-site coordinators. So tell us about the on-site coordinators, because I think a lot of people don't know the difference between an on-site coordinator or a venue
Yeah.
coordinator and an actual wedding planner.
Yeah, so I get that question a lot actually. What's the difference between you and the venue coordinator? The on-site coordinator is there, as it says, on site. They are there to make sure they are taking care of the venue. They are there to make sure the venue is open when we arrive and locked up when we leave. They don't care what time hair and makeup is going to take care of you. They don't care what time the limo is coming. They just want to make sure that all the vendors we said are showing up when they're showing up, arrive at those particular times. But everything else in between, as it pertains to you and your wedding, they flat out don't care about. They're just concerned about the venue. And that's what I try to make people understand. Yes, we communicate and coordinate with the on-site coordinator because we are communicating with them about vendors that are coming to their venue. We are making sure that they're, like, for example, today I spent a good portion of my day collecting all of the certificates of insurance from all of the vendors for an upcoming wedding I have in 2 weeks. So that is really what the on-site coordinator is there for, making sure all the vendors that are showing up show up at the time I said they were going to show up, according to my timeline, have insurance, and just basically don't tear up the place. But they are not there to make sure you arrive on time and make sure hair and makeup is done. They don't get you down the aisle or anything like that.
So do they don't help, I'm assuming, with getting your vendors either. Like you would
No.
just go off of a list they have maybe or
I mean, they will have a list, some of them do, of people that have worked there in the past that they consider have done a good job, or didn't leave, the place a mess or something like that, but they are not doing any legwork on your behalf.
do they help with like what is that seating charts and all that good
Oh,
stuff?
no, absolutely not. No.
Ah, okay.
They might, like, put it on an easel if my two hands are full and I just need you to hold it or set it, but no, they're not doing anything.
And what about like if I know a bride one time rented the photo booth, but no one to man the booth, and they thought, okay, I'm having it at this all-inclusive venue. The person at the venue is going to man the photo booth.
No, I've been at venues where the on-site coordinator is in the office downstairs playing Sudoku, watching
No.
TV. I mean, the on-site coordinator is there just to make sure the building is standing. Some are walking around, making, just observing, but they're really not there to help with your wedding. Some play an active part in, um like, helping. If there is on-site catering, they might help serve, but they
Mhm.
really are not there to play an active part in planning your wedding.
Mm. And to make sure things like linens get returned and vases get
Oh,
returned
absolutely
and
no,
cutlery. Okay, okay. So
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. Because that
They
was
they
one thing I was like,
they don't even, just like the cutlery I returned last week, it was not even washed. So that's a whole nother topic, but um, you know, no, they didn't even wash it. So
so another reason. So yes, venue coordinators are not necessarily there
they are not wedding
for
planners.
the whole they're not there to help in any of the planning, picking really any of the venues, I
No.
mean vendors. They're there to make sure the chairs, tables, and everything pertaining to the actual venue is smooth, but all the other logistics, getting people there, picking vendors, going on planning anything else, right?
Right, they don't do
Is
that at all,
not their
no.
purview. Okay.
That is not what they
No
do.
dress shopping together, nothing.
That
Okay.
is it's on-site coordinator. They are there to coordinate the site with me, coordinate the site with the vendors. So, and I coordinate the vendors, so really the on-site coordinator is working with me. So when you're looking at
Okay.
my
So,
Instagram or my website, it looks like all the vendors talk to each other, but all the vendors talk to me, then I talk to the on-site coordinator.
okay. All right. So then there's other people like, okay, well, then I'm not going to do that. Let me go to the other end of the spectrum. So what advice would you give to people who book like a blank slate type venue or like an outdoor like park or places like Vizcaya and Miami, where you really have the dirt and the pretty outside, but there is absolutely nothing else that comes with this.
Well, then you certainly need a full service planner because when you book a place like Vizcaya, then it comes with nothing.
Hmm.
You need everything. And my best friend right now, bless her heart, she's probably listening, is being her sister's planner, and they don't come with anything. So you need everything. Vizcaya comes
Hmm.
with no tables, no chairs, no caterer. It is just a shell. So
Hmm.
whatever your vision is, you need someone to help you bring that vision to fruition. So you need a skill planner to do that. And that's really it in a nutshell. And unfortunately, my best friend is not that person. So,
Are you helping her? You should be helping
I told her she better send me a check.
her.
She called me last night, as a matter of fact.
All right. So basically, get a planner and be aware of exactly what your venue is offering, because it may look like it's 7,000, but it may end up at 20 something thousand once all the little fees, the cake cutting fees and the room flipping fees and all of those things are added in there, right?
Yeah, because there's tax and then there's service charge, and unfortunately, service
On
charge
top of
is
that too.
taxable.
Okay. So for any brides besides those few things, know what it's including venue wise, and hire a planner. Is there any other advice you have about like booking the venue? Anything else they should be kind of looking out for or helping them to narrow down venues?
Um, Knowing whether or not, like I mentioned, having insurance, you need to know if the
Mm,
venue requires you to have event day insurance. If your vendors have to have a certificate of insurance, that's important because a lot of venues are requiring that as of late. And some are requiring you to have specific insurance for even your bartender if they're not requiring you to have specific insurance for the event day, but they're requiring your bartender specifically to have insurance. So that's something that you need to inquire about. And now I'm getting a lot of people, like I mentioned earlier, not wanting many flowers because they want to save money on decor, but many venues are having a candle clause. So you
mm,
need to be aware of the candle clause and if they're requiring you to have flameless candles only, or you have to have your candles covered by a glass shell or something like that. So that's something that you also need to be mindful of when looking at a venue. And another thing is if they are requiring you to, or if they are allowing you to bring in your preferred vendors,
hmm.
if you have to pay anything extra. Some vendors have, I'm sorry, some venues have a preferred vendors list that you must use people off that list. And some will allow you to bring your own vendors, such as your floor designer, etc., or caterer, but then they might charge you an extra fee to do so. So that is something that you also need to take into consideration.
Oh yeah, so there's a lot of different things like insurance. Are there any fees to bring in your own people? Are you allowed to bring in your own people? Oh
Yeah,
my
there's one
goodness.
venue in particular that is they have a wedding planner on site. So if you are bringing a person like me, they will charge you a fee to do so, and then yeah, you can't bring in any. They have a DJ and stuff like that too. So yeah, you will be basically paying double. So when people want that particular venue, I said you don't really have any need for me because you would be paying twice for a planner.
So wait, so then is their planner actually doing the planning, or is their planner doing what we spoke about earlier, just the
It's
site coordinator?
doing planning, but they have all the stuff in house. So it's really not
Okay, okay,
planning necessarily because you get to
okay.
pick one of three bouquets, one of three centerpieces. So
Mm,
it's not necessarily it's still an all-inclusive venue, but it's not necessarily anything custom. But so it's planning but not planning, if
okay,
that makes
okay. I
sense.
understand then. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right. And so that was the advice for the brides. So for planners starting out like you did before you met your mentor, what is or what are the top two things you would say that you're just starting out, you may have had one or two weddings. What are the top two things that those people need to be doing to kind of get themselves rolling?
Well, I'm gonna always lean on shadowing, just still getting that education, that experience by, shadowing someone, whether it's a mentor or something like that. And the other thing is to get that education via seminars or conferences. One of my favorites is Wedding MBA because it is, I call it like Wedding University. It is every November, and it like if you're a wedding planner, DJ, officiant, like on the first day it says go to these classes. Second day you can go wherever you want to go.
Hmm.
Whether it's law, whether it's design, whether it's social media, it basically is like a crash course in what to do. And I honestly built my contract off of Wedding MBA. There's a wedding attorney that teaches law classes every year. And when
Mm.
COVID hit, I was honestly proud to say that because I had attended several years prior in a row, that my force majeure clause was on lock and I didn't have to really worry about anything when COVID hit. So I was pretty
Mm.
proud to say that everything he said when I listened to his podcast, I was like, check, 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 check. And so, and it was like $200, a flight to Vegas. Yeah. And, most conferences are thousands of dollars. So it's a really small investment for a crash course in 3 days. And yeah, so that's my advice. Just shadow and just soak up the knowledge. And $200, and a couple nights in a hotel is a small investment in your career.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So, for anybody watching, do y'all have any wedding related questions for Lasan? Drop it in the comments below. I know it does take a couple of seconds. Lasan also put together 15 questions that you need to ask.
25 questions.
Oh, 20. Oh, my bad. 25 questions you should be asking your venue. So, if you want a copy of that, say me in the comments below and we'll contact you and get that out to you via email. It's a beautiful guide for you to take. So, otherwise, I know the wedding season, the Christmas, I guess, wedding season is coming up. Let me back up real quick. I know you were saying about the candles. I know pumice grass was all the
Oh,
rage, right? It looked like you have an interesting story about pumice grass
no, I
and
just like pampas
venues.
grass is like, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know there was a mishap at a venue, and now pumice grass may be off of the menu for some people, so people need to be aware of that as well, correct?
Yes. Pampas grass is one of the biggest fire hazards. Pampas grass is, first of all, dry, dry, dry. It sheds horribly. And many people use, unfortunately, hairspray to make it feather. Well, hairspray, unfortunately, is flammable. You put
Mhm.
that next to candles. I mean, like almost all centerpieces are adjacent to candles,
Mhm.
and poof. So, yeah, that day of event insurance, most
Necessary.
insurance policies we carry are $1 million,
Mhm.
but you burn up a
Burn
ball
down a
gown.
venue, that might not work.
Exactly. I was getting to that, through the back door. So we really don't want those mishaps, which is why Candles are now flameless in most venues, and they have to be covered with a glass shell and stuff like that.
Mm.
And
Okay.
everybody wants pampas grass. That's the trends. They just those ebbs and flows.
Exactly, exactly. I see people now kind of moving a little bit away from the pampas grass, but I know all this year, last year, it is all the rage.
It's all the rage. It's all the rage.
All righty. I say Mark would like your PDF, so we'll get that over to him.
Awesome.
So, any other questions from anybody before we let you go? We'll wait a few seconds, and y'all can stay tuned next week. Same bat channel, same bat time, 6 o'clock. We will have Lorna on. She actually owns an actual wedding venue, so we'll talk about
Oh,
wedding venues from the side of an owner, and
that
the
should be
crazy things.
interesting.
Yeah, the crazy things brides do, don't do, what is allowed, what is not allowed, and things like that. So you'll get more wedding talk next Wednesday, and then after that we have some bling for y'all, some jewelry tips. So stay
Well,
tuned,
I love
and y'all go
jewelry.
check out Black Owned Delete, the Instagram, the podcast, for if you're wanting to be more mindful with your dollars. And if you're a Black owned business and you want to be featured on blackowneddelete.com, just submit that there as well. LaShawn has her beautiful profile on there. So go check that out as well. Let's see. Any closing tips for the brides or the aspiring planners?
Um, I think I probably have talked everyone's ears also, because I'm pretty long-winded, so
No,
I
it's
don't,
good. It's good.
yeah, I
Oh, let
think
me ask one last venue question that I just thought about. Is there anything in particular, like if a venue tells you this, run? Any particular thing?
no, I mean, I haven't had any. No,
Craziness?
no, I haven't
Okay.
had any like any shady. No,
Okay.
nothing comes to mind.
Okay. Well, then that's good, y'all. At least there's like no huge red flag that's like,
No, no, I don't have anything that comes to mind.
okay. And just to let y'all know, deposit wise, when you put down a deposit, is that kind of in stone? Should people be aware of that? Or is it possible maybe to get your deposit back?
So the deposit is in stone. Now there are some venues that will ask for a refundable deposit that they will take either the week before or the night of as like a damage deposit. So if you
Mm,
clean up everything or remove the trash or something like that, they will either cash the check or tear up the check. But
mhm.
all the other deposits are, pretty, firm and
In
set in
stone.
stone. But those that are refundable, they pretty much give those back right away.
Okay.
Or either don't cash the check or something like that. But all the
Mm,
other
okay.
ones are, yeah, they're set in stone. So that's why I
So
prefer
once you pick,
the
you're
front
picked.
end of
You're
negotiations rather the back end. I just
hmm
recently got a bride out of some stuff in the contract because I had a good relationship with the venue and saved her around $6,000. But
mm,
that's because of my relationship. But had she hired me first, I wouldn't have had to work, so hard. But, I saved her $6,000.
there you go. That's that fee cost again. Okay, so one last thing, and we are going to let you go. Like order of operation. So we talked about venue. I know a lot of people get married, they pick a date, and then they're like, okay, where am I going to have it? Because shoot, that's what I did, right? I picked
Mhm.
a date. We were going to do Miami. Let me look for a venue. So, what would you recommend to be the order of operations? And then we'll let you
Planner
go.
first. Then we
Planner
find your
first.
date isn't set until you have a venue. Your date is ideally the date until you lock in the venue. What I always say it should be planner first, and then we look for the venue together because I help you find the venue that best fit the vision within the budget that you have allotted for yourself. Because a lot of times people are online looking at their dream venue, and again, going back to the Dreams and Dollars meeting, the dream venue doesn't necessarily fit in what that budget is. So you have me on hand first, then because of relationships and division, then we can kind of negotiate a little bit on that vision and find places that fit, and then lock in closer on that ideal date and find the one that's more, permanent, close to that date, if not the actual date. So I always like to be hired first, and then, that's the order that best fits,
Love
in
it.
my opinion.
And does venue dream and budget usually meet, or is it advised not get in love with a venue first?
Well, I mean, it helps me to know what your dream venue is,
Mm,
because I use the word creative alternative, because at least I know what you're thinking about. Because, like, oh, well, it might not be the St. Regis that we can go to, but, what about this one in terms of aesthetic?
mhm.
So I still like to know, but, we can't go there. Maybe we can go here.
Okay. Well, that seems like a good
I'm
meet
gonna
in the
ask
middle.
what, like, if you've gone to venues, which ones have you already toured? If you've been looking at venues online, which ones have you seen already? Which ones have you been looking at? Why did you look at this one? Because I still like to know what you've been dreaming of. Again, I'm
Mm,
telling your love story. I want to know what your vision is, because the only way for me to tell your story is to know what it is, what it looks like, what it feels like to you. So I'm still going to ask the question. I mean, if you ask my daughter, my questionnaire is like too freaking long. So I still want the answers, because I still need to know what your vision is, because as you are talking to me, I'm always writing. So I'm always going to know what the venue is you have in mind, so I can get as close to that dream as possible.
you just said something, and I know I promised to let you go, but in
Mhm.
the walkthrough, is there anything people should be taking note of while they're walking through venues? Because I liked that experience. I loved that, but I was just like, oh, it's so beautiful. Like I wasn't really thinking of
Yeah, so
anything in
you're looking at it
particular.
through your eyes, and when I'm walking through, I'm thinking of it how the guests also experience it. Like, where are the
Mm,
bathrooms? Like, how
mm,
far do they have to walk? How far is parking? Do they, have to pay for the parking? And is there valet parking? Um, I'm thinking about, all of those things. Is is it one ballroom, two ballrooms? How many events are going on at the same time as mine? Is mine the only one? Are they going on at the same time? So I'm thinking about it in terms of comfort, logistics, and ease. You don't want your guests, especially when they're coming from out of town, that's already, I don't want to say an inconvenience, but people like ease and comfort. And so when things get too complicated for your guests, they don't want to do it. They don't want to be bothered. The anxiety is now too much for them. So I'm thinking
mhm.
about it in those terms. Weddings are emotional. so
Oh yeah.
so when I take couples on site, oh my gosh, it's pretty. Let's see, the chandeliers. Yeah, I've been there enough times. I'm over that. I'm thinking about it in terms of how your guests are going to experience it. And when they have to go to the bathroom after going to the bar so many times, then how easy is it for them to get to the bathroom from the ballroom, or after walking from the parking lot, have to go to the bathroom, so I'm thinking about it in those terms. And if you do two weddings on the same day, is my wedding going to be rushed? Do I have to get me in 7 o'clock in the morning because I have, so I'm thinking about all of those things when I'm doing a walkthrough. And I don't like venues that do two weddings on the same day, because inevitably somebody is going to be rushed. And who
Mm.
wants to be rushed on your special day?
And guests mixing too, because I know I went to a wedding and it was at one of those wedding mill type places. And I was like, okay, like, are we supposed to go over here? I see people
Yeah.
going in that ballroom, but is that, and then you have to peek your head in and look, and okay, no.
Yeah, and
So
signage, and they
yeah.
don't always have the signage properly
Hmm.
done, and they try to stagger it, but then if you don't have a great planner, then the stagger times don't really work because somebody's late. So it just doesn't really work. Um, so that's something else to take into consideration, is how many weddings they do on the same day, and how our guests separated. who's manning that process and stuff like that too.
See, and the longer we talk, the more we think. So
Like I said,
definitely,
you know,
y'all
I can talk
get
forever.
that PDF. No, I'm just telling them, like, there's so many things that you
Right.
need to know. You're thinking, oh, just pick a venue. That one's pretty. Yeah, I can afford it. Done. But there are so many questions, right? There are so many questions
There are so
that
many
could put you in
questions.
hot water or ruin the guest experience. And that it's your day, but
And some venues don't even have parking. Some require
mm,
that you get valet because they don't
oh,
have a parking lot. And
oh,
now you
interesting.
have an expense of getting valet parking because they don't have a parking lot. You know,
Mm,
and some I mean, some venues have, yeah, tables and chairs, but you know, I had a bride, she hired me after getting the venue, and yeah, they have tables and chairs already. And she said, like, yeah, they got tables and chairs already. Well, they have 50 chocolate chairs and 50 caramel chairs, but your wedding is black and green. So now you still need to go
mhm,
rent 100 black chairs. So you didn't save any money because they don't have the right color chairs, you know.
mhm,
So again, if they don't have what you need, still you're not saving anything because they have it, because you still need to go out and get it.
mhm. Okay. All right. Well, we could talk forever,
We can.
but I will let you go. So tune in, and maybe we'll have you on because I know you love destination weddings too, to talk
I do. I
about the
do.
things people need to know if they're taking it like out the country. How about that? How about we do that? Because I know a lot of people love Mexico, and I know you've been there quite a few times with your weddings. So out the country, because I know that's a whole nother
That's a whole
ball of
nother
wax.
situation.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope y'all
All
all
righty.
enjoyed it. If
Thank
y'all
you.
want to hear any other wedding topics into, you can drop that in the comments as well. If you're watching on the replay, just let us know.
All
See you
righty.
later. Thanks so
All
much.
righty. Thank you.
Bye.